Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into something a little more ancient. You're not curled up in your bed anymore. You're lying on a straw mat, the air thick with sweat, vinegar, and something that might be boiled cabbage. They're shouting in Latin outside, and someone just kicked your sandal. Welcome to a Roman gladiator barracks, or ludus, where waking up sore is the only guarantee, and breakfast. Well, let's just say it's not quite avocado toast. You blink your eyes open to the dim light filtering through high stone windows. The walls are rough. The straw mattress under you prickles your skin, and your back aches from yesterday's light training session. An hour of shield drills followed by dragging a log uphill. You stretch your arms, and someone near the door lets out a heroic belch. This is your new life now. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I promise not every journey involves muscle cramps and cabbage soup. Also, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location and local time in the comments below. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. It starts with breakfast, or what the lanista, your trainer and part-time drill sergeant, calls breakfast. A heavy wooden bowl is shoved into your hands by a grinning boy barely older than you. In it, a lumpy gray porridge made of barley. No honey, no cinnamon, just barley, water, and the faintest hint of ash? You try not to think about it. Your fellow trainees, Tyrones just like you, grunt their approval or mild disappointment as they eat. One guy, nicknamed Goat Eyes, insists the texture's better than yesterday. Another swears his tastes like old sandals. You dig in, because you'll need it. The morning drills start at sunrise, and nothing screams fun like sprinting in sand with a 15-pound wooden sword. The ludus is busy. You pass old veterans whose scars could tell better stories than any historian, and teenage recruits trying to puff out their chests. There's an old retired fighter named Crassus, who sits in the corner sharpening blades and muttering about the time Commodus missed a parry. You smile politely. You don't believe him, or maybe you do. It's hard to tell in here. The barracks are simple, rows of straw beds, a single cold bath that smells faintly of pickles, and racks of training gear. You've already learned the most important rule: don't complain, ever. Not about the food, the bruises, or the fact that a rat stole half your bread last night. Outside, the training yard is already alive with noise. Shields bang, wooden swords clack, and the doctores, your instructors, shout reminders like "don't flinch" and "pretend it's your debt collector." You line up, full stomach turning slightly at the smell of body odor and oil-soaked leather. Time to earn that bland breakfast. As you go through footwork drills, lunges, and shield formations, your mind drifts. You remember stories of gladiators dining on exotic meats, roasted birds, maybe even rare fruits. But here, it's barley, oats, and more barley. They call you hordearii, barley men. Not the most glamorous nickname, but oddly accurate. A mainstream Roman source, Galen, a physician, once wrote that gladiators needed their bulk for endurance. Hence the carbs. And the ash? That's believed to have come from charred plants or bones, mixed into food or drinks as a source of calcium. Think of it as a very, very crunchy Gatorade. You glance over at your sparring partner, whose lip is bleeding slightly, but who's still smiling. "Better than starving in the mines," he says, and you nod. That's the thing about gladiators. Most of you are slaves or prisoners. But compared to some fates, this one offers food, shelter, and a chance at glory, or at least survival. As the sun climbs higher, the drills intensify. You sweat out breakfast by mid-morning, your tunic soaked through and your arms leaden. The thought of lunch, whatever it is, keeps you going. That and the looming promise: if you survive, if you win enough, there might be freedom, maybe even citizenship. You dodge a slow swing, plant your foot, and counter. The dottore nods approvingly. You might last a month yet. The training ends with more laps, because why not? Your feet drag, your muscles scream, and you wonder again if all gladiators secretly ate something better. Some historians debate whether elite fighters had access to more luxurious meals, meat, eggs, maybe even wine. But archaeological digs at gladiator cemeteries in Ephesus suggest a mostly vegetarian diet, heavy in legumes and carbs. Go figure. By the time you're allowed back inside, your hands are raw, your throat is dry, and you're already bracing for whatever is next. A cold rinse? Another bowl of barley. Or worse, latrine duty. You flop onto your straw mat and exhale. This life isn't glamorous, but at least there's structure. And food. Predictable, if mildly horrifying food. Someone passes by and mutters, "They say the stew today's got meat in it." You smile despite yourself. Probably just a rumor. But hey, a gladiator can dream. The sound of wooden swords slamming against shields rings in your ears long after training ends. You're sore in places you didn't know existed. Your right forearm is trembling from blocking drills, and your legs feel like they've been stuffed with wet sand. But it's not over yet. Not even close. After the morning sweat comes the meal that's supposed to keep you standing through the rest of the day. Lunch. Or what passes for it. You shuffle into the mess area with the rest of the Tyrones, dodging elbows and splashes from wash buckets. The sun beats down. The dust clings to your skin, and your tunic, still damp, has begun to itch in exactly the worst places. A long, creaky table stands under a sun-bleached canopy. On it, thick loaves of fire-baked barley bread and jugs of warm water. Not wine, not even vinegar water, just sun-steeped water with a faint mineral taste, like someone dropped a rock in it on purpose. You grab your portion and sit. The bread is so dense it could double as a sparring weapon. It crumbles reluctantly when you bite in, dry, flavorless, and somehow simultaneously gummy and dusty. It's not what you'd call satisfying, but it sticks to your ribs like plaster, and that's what counts. Around you, the others chew in silence or share quiet banter. One guy pretends to choke dramatically until someone whacks his back with a grin. You smile too, even though you're still not entirely sure this is better than the mines. Maybe only slightly. The training continues. You return to the yard for wooden sword, rudies, drills. These things are absurdly heavy, carved from solid oak and used to build arm strength. They're not for show. They're punishment in wood form. You swing until your arms go numb, practicing slow forms, fast footwork, the art of not dying. Your stomach is a low drumbeat now, and you catch yourself counting the hours to the next meal. Somewhere between sessions, a veteran nicknamed Felix starts talking about his favorite food. Once, he says, I had a honey cake. Warm, sticky, almonds on top. Could have wept. He makes a theatrical sniffing motion. Now I chew on barley rocks and pretend they're cake. You laugh. You have to. Otherwise, you might actually cry. The fire bread is your most regular companion. Baked in communal ovens or griddled over open flames, it's made from coarsely ground barley, sometimes oat or spelt if you're lucky, and always dense. Always just a little singed. Some days, a small addition. A smear of mashed bean paste or a sprinkling of dried herbs. Rarely, very rarely, there's a smear of olive mash. Salted, crushed olives mixed with vinegar. On those days, you feel like a king. Your training group spends the afternoon practicing formation combat. Shoulder to shoulder, shields up. You move like a human wall, which sounds noble until someone missteps and you end up eating sand. The doctore shouts something about discipline, while a beetle crawls up your leg. You flick it off and imagine how much protein it has. You're only half joking. You break for a rest. There's a faint scent of boiling legumes in the air, maybe lentils or chickpeas. Someone's stirring a pot near the barracks door, and you hear the slosh of something thick and earthy. It'll be your dinner most likely. A stew. That's the good news. The bad news? It's likely seasoned with defrutum, a concentrated grape syrup that's not for taste. It's for binding iron in food. Roman science at work. Do you know why the bread's so hard? Goat Eyes says suddenly. It's to toughen your teeth, or your soul, one of the two. You shake your head, tearing another bite from your lunch and deciding not to ask whether he's joking. Historians still argue whether this diet was punishment, practicality, or a kind of twisted nutrition science. Some claim the low-meat, high-carb regimen gave gladiators the bulk needed to absorb wounds, fat cushions over muscle. Others suggest it kept fighters docile and slow, easier to manage. Maybe both. Or maybe they were just cheap calories. Barley and beans don't complain. By now, your body is adjusting. The constant hunger has settled into a background hum. The food still doesn't taste good, but you eat with a kind of grim acceptance. Sometimes you even look forward to the bread. Not for the flavor, but because it means you're still breathing, still in the game. As you finish your meal, a small commotion breaks out. A merchant's son has arrived, apparently donating figs to the ludus for good luck. The guards take most of them, of course, but one rolls across the ground and stops by your foot. You glance around. No one saw. You eat the fig in 3 seconds flat. It's sun-warmed, sticky sweet, and glorious. The taste lingers longer than any loaf or stew ever has. And just like that, the afternoon continues. More drills, more sweat, more aching limbs and shouted instructions. You think of the fig. You think of Felix's honey cake. And for the first time since waking up, you think, maybe you'll survive this week. You wake the next morning with a sore jaw from chewing through yesterday's bread and a dull ache in your calves that makes standing feel like a test of character. But stand you must, because breakfast is already being ladled out, and rumor has it today's bowl includes something new: ash. You shuffle into the open mess area, where steam curls from an enormous pot. The cook, a burly ex-legionary with a burned arm and no patience, slaps a scoop of grayish porridge into your bowl. Same barley base, but this time, there's a darker tinge. A fine, almost powdery grit clings to the surface, and it smells faintly of charred wood. Or is that bone? You hesitate. Goat Eyes doesn't. He shovels a spoonful into his mouth and grunts. Extra crunchy today. You taste it. It's barley, all right. Barley, a little bean mash, and something smoky. Definitely ash. It might sound bizarre, but ancient sources confirm it. Gladiators consumed a tonic made with ash, often plant ash, sometimes bone, stirred into water or porridge. Why? Calcium. Turns out when your daily routine involves breaking bones, sometimes your own, it helps to rebuild them faster. The Roman physician Galen wrote that gladiators drank ash drinks to strengthen their bodies and replenish minerals lost during heavy exertion. You try not to imagine who thought that was a good idea the first time. Hey, let's stir in the fireplace. But it's surprisingly effective, and considering there's no dairy in your diet, you'll take your calcium where you can get it. Around the table, you hear someone bragging about adding olive paste to their ash porridge. It cuts the bitterness, he says with a wink. You nod, knowing full well no such olive paste ever made it near your bowl. There's a black market trade in condiments here. Salt, herbs, even crushed nuts. One guy was caught hoarding raisins and had to clean the latrines for a week. After breakfast, the morning drills resume. Lighter today, which sounds merciful until you realize lighter just means more footwork and fewer bruises. You shuffle through sword forms, practicing slow, deliberate swings while balancing on shifting sand. The sun isn't even fully up and you're sweating like it's noon. Your thoughts drift again, as they often do during repetitive drills. You wonder how the diet really affects you. Sure, you're leaner now, you're quicker, and your body seems to be adapting, but it's not the meat builds muscle theory modern fitness fans swear by. Here, you're powered by grains, beans, and ash. Historians still debate just how intentional this diet was. Was it carefully calculated by ancient sports scientists? Or was it just the cheapest way to feed a barracks full of hungry slaves? The truth is probably a little of both. Roman practicality meets grim necessity. A new recruit joins the line, a scared-looking Gaul who barely speaks Latin. He eyes the stew pot nervously and asks in broken phrases whether there's any meat. Goat Eyes pats him on the back. If you taste meat, it's probably a rat. He's joking. You hope. Mid-morning brings another small meal, a cup of warm water with a few spoonfuls of mashed legumes stirred in. It's more soup than solid, but it's enough to keep the hunger pangs at bay. One of the veterans claims it helps with muscle soreness. Another says it's just there to stop you from passing out in formation. Still, there's a rhythm forming to your life now. Wake, eat, train, rest, repeat. It's comforting in a way. Even if the food lacks variety, it offers structure, predictability, and in a world where your future depends on the swing of another man's sword, predictability is luxury. That afternoon, your group gathers around a smaller fire pit for a communal cooking lesson. It's a rare privilege, meant to teach discipline and teamwork, but mostly it teaches you how not to burn lentils. The cook explains how they soak the barley overnight, then cook it low and slow, stirring in fava beans, chickpeas, and yes, ashes. You don't ask where today's ash came from. As the pot bubbles, the smell is not unpleasant. Earthy, familiar. Someone starts humming a song from the provinces. Another taps a rhythm on his bowl with a wooden spoon. You all relax, just a little, as if the scent of bubbling barley can hold off the chaos of combat one more day. You ladle out the stew and sit with your group. It's thicker than usual, with just enough herbs to suggest someone got creative or broke into the medic's stash. You eat slowly, enjoying the warmth, the camaraderie, the brief illusion of peace. One guy jokes that the ashes give it a nice woody finish, like a bad bottle of wine. You snort. That's joke number 3 today. Later, as the sun dips low and the shadows stretch across the training yard, you find yourself feeling stronger. Not just physically. There's a strange satisfaction in enduring, in adapting. You've learned to stomach ash, to swing oak like iron, to sleep through snoring and nightmares. And somehow, you're still here. You lie on your straw mat again, stomach full of barley and soot, and close your eyes. Tomorrow's a new day. More drills, more bread. Maybe, if the gods are generous, a fig. You wake to the sharp clatter of a ladle against a bronze pot. Someone's already stirring today's stew, and the familiar, slightly sour scent of lentils and overboiled onions fills the air. Your body protests as you sit up, muscles stiff and reluctant. You're learning that being a gladiator isn't just about strength, it's about endurance. And nowhere is that more obvious than in the kitchen. Today, you're assigned mess duty. You trudge toward the outdoor hearth, where a squat, scarred man named Spurius supervises the giant cauldron like it's the heart of the empire. He grunts and hands you a long wooden paddle. "Don't let it stick," he growls, wiping sweat off his brow with a rag that's seen better centuries. You begin stirring. The mixture is thick, a bubbling brown swamp of barley, lentils, split peas, and what you think might be cabbage. Occasionally, you spot a sliver of garlic or something vaguely carrot-shaped. It's hearty, filling, and completely unappetizing. Unless, of course, you've just spent 5 hours in the sun practicing shield formations. As you stir, Spurius begins telling stories. He's been here for years. Too many wounds to fight now, but enough wisdom to be feared. "Back in my day," he begins, "we had stew with wild boar, real meat." You raise an eyebrow. "Only because one wandered into the training yard and broke a water barrel. We speared it and called it lunch." You both laugh. Kind of. The stew thickens. The key, Spurius says, is patience and fish sauce. You wrinkle your nose. Garum. That infamous Roman condiment made by fermenting fish guts in the sun for months. It's salty, pungent and used in everything from salad dressings to, apparently, breakfast porridge. A little goes a long way. He shows you a small ceramic jar. You pop the lid and immediately regret it. It smells like low tide and old socks. But when he drizzles it into the pot, the stew comes alive. The salt cuts through the mush, and suddenly it smells almost good. Not quite dinner at grandma's, but better than boiled shame. As lunch nears, the others gather. You ladle out portions, each man giving a grateful nod or a sarcastic comment. Smells like victory. Hope this builds my biceps. Think the ash is optional today? You chuckle. This group, for all its roughness, is becoming something close to a family. A strange, sweaty, constantly bruised family, but a family nonetheless. You finally get your own bowl and sit under a fig tree whose branches curl lazily over the barracks wall. The stew is hot, thick, and yes, tangy. The garum lingers on your tongue, and you can feel the heat settle in your belly like a warm stone. You eat slowly, savoring every strange bite. It's hard to believe this was once the food of champions, but it was. Roman sources praised the simple diet of gladiators, not flashy, but effective. The heavy carb load gave them energy, the legumes gave protein, and the lack of meat kept them slow burning. Even emperors remarked on the endurance of these barley men. Historians still argue whether garum was a staple for all classes or just a luxury. Some claim every Roman from slave to senator slathered it on their bread. Others believe it was mostly for the wealthy. But in a gladiator barracks, where everything is reused, repurposed, and recycled, fish guts are definitely fair game. The afternoon brings a lighter schedule. Only 1 hour of tactical practice, followed by a rare break. You use it to nap, sprawled out under the tree, the taste of garum still lingering and the hum of flies serving as a lazy lullaby. You dream, strangely, of feasts. Long tables with golden plates, roasted peacocks, grapes fed to you by silk-draped admirers. Then someone dumps a bucket of water on your face. Break's over. Evening drills are shorter, less intense, more ritual than real exercise. You clean your gear, oil your shield, and check your boots for pebbles. That's the daily rhythm. Fight, eat, rest, repeat. And though the food might be humble, it's building something stronger than just muscle. You're starting to understand that the diet isn't just about nutrition. It's about control, consistency. Everyone eats the same, trains the same, bleeds the same. Whether you're a Gaul, a Greek, a former soldier, or a captured thief, you all drink ash water, chew barley, and wrestle through the pain. Later, after the sun dips below the barracks roof and the air finally cools, someone passes around the last of a dried fig cake. It's barely a mouthful each, but it's sweet, sticky, and better than a gold coin. You know, Felix says quietly, if I ever get free, I'm opening a tavern and serving nothing but honeyed wine and roast lamb. Godai snorts. No one's paying for that, unless you add a side of fish sauce. The fire crackles. You laugh. Your belly is full. Your arms ache in that satisfying way, the kind that means you earned today's stew. And as you lie back, staring at the stars through the courtyard arch, you think maybe tomorrow's ash won't be so bad. The next morning, you find yourself skulking near the temple stalls before training starts. Not because you're religious, though some days you find yourself muttering prayers to every god and goddess in reach, but because you've heard rumors of something rare. Fresh cheese. The temple's food vendors, meant to serve passing pilgrims and the local priesthood, also happened to stock some of the most tantalizing forbidden fruit for a gladiator. Salted goat cheese, dried apples, honey-dipped dates. Stuff that makes your usual barley mix taste like floor sweepings. It's technically off-limits to trainees, but rules in the ludus are more flexible, depending on who's watching. You slip into the shadows, tunic cinched tight, coins clinking lightly in a pouch you found during latrine duty. There it is, a wedge of pale, crumbly cheese wrapped in fig leaves. The vendor barely looks at you. He's used to seeing off-duty guards, and even the occasional gladiator wandering by with shifty eyes and fast hands. You trade the coins for the cheese and slide it into your tunic, just as the trainer's horn blares. Back to the yard. You jog, heart pounding, not from guilt, but anticipation. Today's going to be a good day. Training's rougher than usual. Someone's messed up the sandpit rotation, and the veterans are in foul moods. Your squad is punished with full gear sprints around the outer yard. After 10 minutes of dragging your shield like a sled, the cheese starts to feel less like a treat and more like a liability sweating under your shirt. But it's worth it. You wait until midday break, slip behind the equipment shed, and share the prize with Goat Eyes and Felix. It's tangy, soft, and salty. Everything your diet lacks. For a few bites, you forget where you are. You forget the bruises. You forget that tomorrow might bring an arena match. I could live off this, Goat Eyes mumbles, licking his fingers. You might have to, you reply. The conversation turns toward the food you miss. Felix describes Sicilian figs dipped in wine syrup. Someone else swears by Egyptian beer and fried locusts. You add, quietly, that you once had something called buttered bread, and the group groans in envy. These small acts, stealing cheese, remembering flavors, exaggerating ancient feasts, help you feel human again. They remind you there's a world beyond the ludus, a world of spice markets and clay ovens, family kitchens and warm soups stirred by mothers with tired hands. Back in formation, you realize the cheese has given you more than a full stomach. It's given you energy, alertness, maybe even hope. You parry faster, step lighter, grin wider. Your doctore notices and narrows his eyes. Later, after drills, he pulls you aside. You brace yourself. Keep moving like that, he says, and you'll be fed better soon. Or dead. Either way, different food. Thanks? You return to the barracks, the echoes of wooden swords still ringing in your ears. Dinner tonight is predictable. Lentil mush with scorched barley cakes and some watery greens. You eat it with more gratitude than usual, oddly satisfied despite the absence of contraband cheese. That night, you overhear an argument. Two gladiators are debating whether diet affects performance. One swears meat makes a man strong. The other insists plant food keeps the mind sharp and the belly calm. Why do you think philosophers ate figs and grain? He argues. Meat is for animals. Historians still can't agree on this either. Some ancient texts glorify meat as strength-giving, reserved for elites and warriors. Others praise the pious diet of grains and legumes, noting how some of the most disciplined Roman soldiers marched for miles on vinegar, bread, and dried peas. In truth, the gladiators' diet might have been both practical and ideological, designed to build stamina, not vanity, to fuel long training hours, not short bursts of luxury. You're starting to respect it, even if you still fantasize about buttered bread. Someone nearby is snoring, someone else softly praying. You lie awake a while, staring at the beams above. There's a knot of nervous energy in your stomach, not from the cheese, but from the announcement made just before lights out. Tomorrow you'll be sparring in full gear. With blunted weapons, yes, but still, one wrong move, and you'll be eating porridge through a cracked tooth. You pull the blanket tighter and imagine the taste of fig leaves and goat cheese again. If nothing else, it'll be a memory worth holding on to. The clang of armor echoes across the training yard as you pull on your gallerus, the curved shoulder guard that digs slightly into your collarbone. Your limbs are stiff from yesterday's drills, but your stomach is holding steady. Thank you, illicit cheese. Today, you'll need that strength, because this isn't just another round of drills, it's sparring day. Not the playful sort either. Full gear, full speed. Weapons dulled, sure, but not harmless. You've seen bruises from these sessions that turned purple and green like rotten olives. And there's always one guy who forgets he's not in the Colosseum. The air smells like iron, sweat, and warm sand. Your stomach growls faintly, but you shove down the nerves. Breakfast was the usual. porridge with maybe a bean or two hiding in the mush. You barely noticed it going down. You were already focused on who you'd be fighting. You're paired with a Gaul named Terex, whose shoulders are roughly the width of a wagon, and whose idea of light contact is a glancing blow to the ribs that left the last guy wheezing. Great. The bout begins with the blast of a horn. You circle each other, weapons raised, shields high. Everything slows down. Heartbeat, breathing, time itself, and then Terex lunges. You parry just in time, your shield ringing like a drum. The next few moments are a blur of footwork and grit, shouts from your doctore, and the taste of dust on your tongue. You land a solid blow to Terex's side. He grunts, nods, respects you now, a little. Between matches, there's a water break. Someone passes around a flat cake made of ground sesame and date paste. Energy food, the kind saved for high exertion days. It sticks to your teeth and gives a jolt of sugary stamina. You eat half, pocket the rest. By noon, your arms are jelly and your legs wobble beneath you. You've taken 3 hits to the ribs, 1 to the shoulder, and a near miss to the helmet that rang like a church bell. But you're standing, breathing, not bleeding, much. Back in the shade, you share the remaining cake with Felix and Goat Eyes. Felix has a split lip. Goat Eyes has a gash above his brow. Both are grinning. This, Felix says through his swollen mouth, is what makes the stew taste good later. You laugh, tired but alive. And strangely, he's right. When dinner comes, a thick lentil stew laced with onions, barley mash on the side, a drizzle of olive oil. You devour it like it's ambrosia. You even detect a hint of cumin. Or maybe that's just optimism. You ask one of the cooks about the oil. He shrugs. Olive harvests in season. Got lucky. Olive oil in the Ludus isn't just food, it's currency. Used to cook, to treat wounds, to clean skin. You've even seen veterans rub it on their armor for luck. You wipe your bowl clean with the last chunk of barley bread. It's still like chewing a roof tile, but somehow today it tastes better. That night, your doctor visits the barracks. Unusual. He walks the line of beds, eyes scanning, then stops at you. Held your ground well, he says. Eat, rest, you'll need both. Praise, rare. You nod, trying not to look like you're floating 3 inches off the straw mat. Later, as the barracks quiets down, the aches in your body settle into a dull hum. You remember a Roman saying someone quoted once, "Mens sana in corpore sano," a sound mind in a sound body. You're not sure your mind is sound. You've been fantasizing about olives stuffed with honey and dreaming of sheep's milk yogurt. But your body? It's becoming something unrecognizable. Strong, tough, resilient. Historians still argue whether gladiators trained for show or survival, whether their food was meant to build performance or simply keep them docile. But in your bones, you're starting to feel the truth. It's both. You're becoming harder to kill, and maybe that's all the Romans ever wanted from you. As you drift off to sleep, you touch the side of your bruised face and smile faintly. You survived Terex. You earned your stew. And for one quiet night, you belong here. You don't get many rest days in the Ludus. So when one appears, granted not by kindness but due to the barracks waterline collapsing and flooding the armory, you take it as a gift from the gods. No drills, no shouting, no wooden swords cracking against your knuckles. Just a day to breathe, stretch, and maybe, if fortune smiles, chew something that isn't barley. The cook uses the opportunity to prepare what he calls a festival-style spread. That sounds ambitious, but in practice, it means slightly less mush and a few unexpected bonuses. A bowl of boiled eggs, a tray of flatbread rubbed with garlic, and a scattering of dried dates that vanish almost instantly. You manage to snag one. Sweet, sticky, actual flavor. There's even wine. Not much, and heavily watered down, but still enough to make everyone raise a clay cup and shout, "Gloria Victis!" Glory to the fallen, toasting your future self probably. You sit under the sun, peeling a hard-boiled egg with reverence. It's simple, saltless, a little rubbery, but in this world, it's a delicacy. You eat slowly, savoring each bite, aware of how it coats your tongue and how your belly warms in appreciation. Felix, lying nearby with a strip of cloth across his eyes, lifts it just enough to say, "I'd sell my left arm for a roasted dormouse right now." Goat Eyes snorts, "You barely use that arm anyway." Someone tosses a half-eaten date at him. It misses. Your group lounges like lazy lions, full and half-snoozing, swapping stories of imagined banquets, pomegranates from Hispania, smoked eel from Britannia, a rumored cinnamon cake served only to senators. There's no jealousy, just daydreams. These fantasies keep you sane. Later in the afternoon, the lanista himself visits. A rare appearance. He surveys the yard, offers a nod, and tosses a satchel toward the mess table. Inside, honeyed almonds. Probably a bribe to keep spirits high. It works. You each get 3. That's it. 3 little golden drops of sweetness that stick to your fingers and your memories. The moment feels sacred. You lick your thumb and think about what this food means. It's not just fuel. It's celebration. It's reward. And in ancient Rome, food often carried status, meaning even moral judgment. Rich dishes for elites, humble barley for workers, ashes for the damned, or the disciplined. Historians still debate how often gladiators received special meals. Some claim festivals like Saturnalia brought tables full of rare treats. Others insist the diet remained strict. Even then, you suspect the truth, as usual, depends on who's watching. By evening, you've napped in the shade, stretched your limbs until they popped, and polished your gear just enough to look busy. Dinner comes late, served cool. Pickled cabbage, a chickpea mash with lemon rind, and more flatbread. There's something satisfying about the bite of vinegar after days of boiled everything. Felix muses, "If we got meals like this every day, I might actually start liking this place." You glance at the darkening sky. "Don't get used to it." He nods. "Never do." You lie back again, stomach full, mind buzzing with the quiet joys of flavor, of rest, of not bleeding. These days are rare. You learn to store them like treasure. They balance the grit of the grind, the endless repetitions, the sour breath of your opponents in close combat. You think of your old life, of whatever meals you once had, of bread baked in home ovens, of the smell of cooked onions wafting through open windows. It's hazy now. Food memory fades fast in the ludus. But these little luxuries, a sweet almond, a boiled egg, a bite of garlic bread, etch new ones into your bones. Later, back in the barracks, someone hums a tune from Thrace. A low, sleepy rhythm. You listen as the beds creak, the oil lamps flicker, and someone whispers about a dream they had of figs growing from marble walls. You drift off with the taste of almonds still clinging to your teeth. You wake to the scent of olive oil frying something crisp. Your eyes open fast. That's not a normal smell in the ludus, not unless a visitor is expected. You sit up on your straw mat, stretching your arms, and see the kitchen smoke curling above the wall like a flag. Today, you're told, there will be a demonstration. A minor Roman official is visiting, and your lanista wants him entertained. So, while some of the more seasoned fighters prep for a display bout, the kitchen staff gets to work on an unusual spread. You're not on the schedule to fight, thank the gods, but you are on meal prep duty, which on days like this might actually be more interesting. When you arrive, you see something you haven't seen since your arrival. Wheat flour. Actual white flour, not the coarsely ground barley stuff you usually gnaw on like a goat. The cook waves you over. Slice the olives, and don't eat any. I'm counting them. You nod, obedient, and get to work. These are oil-cured black olives, salty and rich. You've seen olive oil nearly every day, used on bread, skin, even armor, but the fruit itself is rarer. Roman kitchens prized olive oil for nearly everything: preserving, cooking, massaging, even cleaning. Gladiators were known to rub down in it after training, then scrape off the sweat and grime with the strigil. You've done it too. It's not glamorous, but it leaves you feeling oddly refreshed. Today, though, that golden oil is being poured onto flatbread, drizzled over lentil paste, and, gasp, infused with herbs. You smell rosemary, maybe even crushed garlic. It's enough to make your mouth water. As you work, the official arrives. A man in a white toga with a bored expression and a veiled distaste for sweat. The lanista greets him like an old friend, and the performance begins. Swords clash, shields bang, and the crowd of guards and kitchen boys cheers. You mostly watch from the shade, sneaking olive slices when no one's looking. After the performance, there's food. Not just for the official. Not this time. Leftovers trickle to the rest of you like rain from a Roman aqueduct. You're handed a slice of warm bread soaked in herb-infused olive oil. It's soft, savory. It shines in your hand like treasure. You chew slowly, reverently. The oil seeps into your tongue, rich and earthy. It's amazing how something so simple can taste so luxurious. You chase it with a scoop of chickpea mash topped with what might be parsley. Someone passes a cup of cool vinegar water, and suddenly the heat of the yard feels like part of a feast, not a punishment. Felix appears at your side, chewing his own oil-drenched crust. They say the emperor drinks olive oil straight for health. Goat Eyes joins you, licking his fingers. They say he bathes in it. Maybe that's why he's slippery, Felix adds. You laugh, spilling a few drops of oil down your tunic. The conversation shifts to rumors of imperial diets. Is it true Caligula ate gold? Did Commodus really dine alone in silence, pretending to be Hercules? Historians still debate how different an emperor's plate was from yours. Some records say they shared simple meals: bread, olives, cheese. Others suggest banquets so rich that vomitoriums were installed nearby. Truth? Probably a little of both, depending on mood, season, and spectacle. What's certain is this: the emperor wasn't scraping burnt barley from the bottom of a pot. Back in the barracks that night, your fingers still smell of garlic and oil. Your skin feels softer, smoother from today's post-training rubdown. There's something almost holy about olive oil in this world. It nourishes, heals, flavors, shines. You lie back on your straw mat, belly full in a way that feels different from usual. Not stuffed, just satisfied. Not punished, but cared for. It's a rare feeling. The flickering torchlight dances on the ceiling. Someone hums again, the same Thracian tune. You close your eyes and feel it all. The oil on your skin, the bread in your mouth, the warm sun on your arms. For a few minutes you don't feel like a slave. You feel Roman. The horn sounds just after dawn, sharper than usual. You roll out of bed with your joints crackling like a thatched roof in a storm. Today's the day. You're slated for a match tomorrow. Not an actual death match, but a public exhibition at the minor arena near the forum. You've been training for this, but now that it's real, your stomach feels like it's trying to crawl into your sandals. Today is for preparation. Your dottore calls it carbo loading, though he doesn't use the term, of course. He just points at a massive bowl of barley porridge thicker than usual, crowned with roasted chickpeas and something that smells suspiciously like fennel. Eat, slowly, all of it. You obey. It's a mountain of carbs, dense, bland, and somehow comforting. Your body knows this rhythm by now. You're storing energy, building fuel for what's coming. The next 24 hours will be a slow march of anticipation. Drills, rest, then the fight. Mid-morning brings a surprise. Fresh flatbread. Not just any flatbread. This one's soft, spongy, almost warm. You're given 2 pieces, brushed with, you guessed it, olive oil, and scattered with crushed herbs. One bite, and you recognize the taste. Lovage, maybe coriander. The cook calls it panis quadratus. the kind baked in Pompeii ovens before they became museum pieces. You call it delicious. As you chew, your doctor lectures the group on pacing, breathing, footwork. You listen, but your mind drifts. It's hard not to imagine yourself in that arena. Will the crowd cheer for you, or call for your blood? Will they even remember your name afterward? For lunch, another round of barley stew, this time with something sweet stirred in. You taste raisins, maybe a drizzle of grape syrup. It's a subtle shift, but your palate, dulled by months of repetition, lights up at the change. Across the yard, Felix groans dramatically. They're fattening us up for slaughter. Goat Eyes waves a spoon. No, they're preserving us, like pickled eggs. Felix points to your bowl. And you, my friend, are now a well-oiled gladiator machine. He's not wrong. With every meal today, you feel your muscles relax a bit more, your nerves calm. The food might be humble, but it's doing its job. It's preparing you for the violence to come with something curiously gentle. Warm bowls, soft textures, flavors that reassure. You've learned to appreciate these meals not just for their nutrition, but for their ritual. The Romans understood the importance of routine, of preparing body and mind through food, rest, and repetition. Historians still argue whether gladiators were athletes or actors. Were you trained for performance or for war? Either way, the food remains the same. By dusk, you're sent to the Thermopolium, a public kitchen near the gate, for a special supper. It's a reward of sorts, a token of trust. You arrive and find a long stone counter, pots bubbling in recessed holes, steam rising into the cool evening air. You're served a bowl of lentil and garlic stew, a wedge of wheat bread, and, blessedly, a boiled egg drizzled with fish sauce and crushed herbs. It's savory, pungent, and oddly satisfying. As you eat on a worn bench by the alley wall, you watch city life pass you by. Women bartering over eels, children chasing a runaway orange, an old man muttering to a mule. You could almost forget you're fighting tomorrow. Almost. That night, back in your bunk, you rub olive oil into your arms, shoulders, and thighs, partly to soothe the aches, partly because it's become a ritual. Gladiators were known for their shine. Oiled skin caught the light, emphasized muscles, and made you harder to grab. But it also makes you feel polished, ready. The barracks is quiet tonight. No jokes, no singing. Just the steady rhythm of men breathing, thinking, dreading. You lie back, full, warm, anxious. Tomorrow, you fight. But tonight, you rest, belly lined with barley, limbs soothed with oil, mind flickering between fear and focus. You close your eyes and whisper a name you haven't said aloud in weeks. Yours. Because tomorrow the crowd will scream it, or forget it. The sun rises slower today. Or maybe it just feels that way. You've been awake for hours, lying on your straw mat, listening to the rustle of sandals and the occasional nervous cough. Today, you enter the arena, not the Colosseum, but a smaller one near the Forum, used for training fights, public amusements, and occasionally sparring matches that get out of hand. You dress slowly. Tunic, arm guard, sandals tied tight, shield strapped, helmet tucked under one arm. But first, food. You're given a final meal before departure. It's symbolic, but also practical. Fuel for the body, a moment to settle your mind. On your tray, a bowl of wheat porridge with honey and figs, a thick piece of barley bread, and watered wine. Not much, but carefully chosen. The carbs will carry you through the match. The honey? A nod to sweetness before blood. You eat slowly, each bite measured. The figs are sticky, the wine tart. You chew the bread with care, reminding yourself to breathe. Around you, the others do the same. No jokes today, just quiet chewing and slow glances. The short walk to the arena is eerily peaceful. You pass vendors selling spiced nuts and fried fish. Children dart through alleyways. No one pays attention to the group of armed men being marched through town. You're not heroes. You're spectacle. Inside the arena, the dust is soft and freshly raked. The stands are filled with locals, tradesmen, gossiping women, a few off-duty guards. You scan the faces for anyone you know, but of course, there's no one. You're not from here. You're from nowhere now. The match is announced. Your name, spoken wrong as always, echoes against the stone. You walk into the sun, shield raised, sword glinting. Across the sand, your opponent emerges. It's Terex. Again. You nod once. He nods back. You remember the last time, his heavy swings, the way he favors his right leg. You plant your feet in the sand and wait for the horn. It blasts. The fight begins. You move instinctively now. Training takes over. Strike, parry, duck, pivot. The world narrows to muscle and breath and sand. You land a hit to his shoulder. He grunts. He responds with a slash to your thigh, blunted but firm. You hiss and twist. The crowd cheers. It lasts less than 10 minutes. When the horn sounds again, you're still standing. Barely, but standing. The crowd applauds politely. No roses, no coins, but also no death. You'll take that. Back in the holding area, you're given water, a cloth for your brow, and, unexpectedly, a small basket of fruit and bread. A reward. It's ceremonial, meant to honor your effort. You sit in the shade and eat a peach so ripe it drips down your arm. Next to you, Terex devours a pomegranate like a man possessed. The two of you share a quiet nod. Rivals in the arena, comrades in hunger. When you return to the ludus, the air feels lighter. Your body aches in 100 places, but you're alive, fed, and, miraculously, respected. Even the doctore gives you a nod. Good footwork. Later that night, lying in your bunk, your belly comfortably full, you reflect on everything you've eaten in this strange life. Barley, ash, lentils, figs, olive oil, garlic, fish sauce. You've hated and loved every bite. You've come to see food not as reward or punishment, but as ritual, as survival. Every bland bowl of porridge, every sweet fig snuck from a market, every oily smear of crushed olive paste. They built you, fed your strength, carved your endurance. Historians still debate whether gladiators were pampered or punished, whether their diets were scientific or just convenient. But you know this. Your food kept you alive, and tomorrow, you'll eat it again. Now the arena fades. The sound of the crowd softens into memory. The taste of that last honeyed fig lingers gently on your tongue as your muscles settle into stillness. You're back in your bunk. The barracks is quiet now. The oil lamp flickers low, casting long shadows across the stone floor. Someone nearby is already snoring. Another hums faintly in his sleep. You breathe in slowly, through your nose, out through your mouth, and feel the warmth of the day's meals still radiating inside you. You think of barley porridge, humble and heavy, of garlic flatbread, soft and steaming, of stew with fish sauce that surprised you with how much it grew on you, of a boiled egg, eaten under a fig tree. You think of olive oil glistening on sun-warmed bread, and the way your body slowly learned to thrive. Outside the barracks, the moon hangs low above the rooftops. You can just make out its glow through the cracks in the stone. In the distance, a dog barks once, then falls quiet. Everything else is still. You've come far, from stranger to fighter, from hunger to resilience. Each spoonful, each bite, a step in the journey. The kind of strength that builds not all at once, but quietly, patiently, day by day. You shift gently under your blanket. Your limbs are heavy in the best way. The ache of a body well used, the comfort of a belly not empty. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts settle. You're not in the arena now. You're home. For tonight. Sleep well, gladiator. End of script. Sweet dreams.